Everyone, John here, back with another video. And today's video, as you've probably already determined by the description, is about B12. And not so much whether or not you should supplement, but more so just what is B12? What does it mean to us? Why do we need it? And hopefully just a little bit of information about it so that you can better understand our needs and what you can do to achieve them. So got just a few topics I'll cover today, such as what is B12, um, what are the different sources that exist in nature, what you can do to determine whether you have a deficiency, any adverse effects you might get from B12, as well as supplementation, and I'll wrap it up from there. So to start, what is B12? What is this vitamin that everyone keeps talking about that seems to be so important and comes up, especially it seems, in the vegan community? Well, B12 is one of the B vitamins that really is kind of a tricky one. It is a very complex vitamin, and it does not exist, or isn't produced rather, within animals, plants, or fungi. It's actually only produced by bacteria and I believe archaea as well, which was at one point thought to be a type of bacteria, but it's very similar anyway. It's a single-celled microorganism and it's very closely related to bacteria. And so through fermentation of these things that exists in nature, vitamin B12 is produced. So then how can foods we eat be a source of B12 if only bacteria can produce it? Well, it's because of bacterial symbiosis, So in nature, plants and animals are always interacting with different bacterias. It's present in the soil, it's even present in the air. And so, because of a symbiotic relationship that can exist in nature, some bacteria gets in the soil or whatever, it ferments, B12 is created, and it grows into or is absorbed into a plant. Maybe an animal eats that plant, and therefore an animal becomes a source of B12. So it really is kind of a natural order that occurs, and it starts with that bacteria. So as far as sources of B12 for vegans, well, animal sources are the main source you hear about, and obviously the ones that are promoted. But it is important to remember that B12 in animals is only present because it's present in the food they're eating, which is plants. So, as vegans, it's not really just solely an issue for us, B12 deficiency, but it is something that does come up a little bit more because it seems like without eating fortified foods or supplementation, we could be at a little bit of a higher risk than someone who's eating animal products that have the B12. So it does seem to be pretty commonly accepted within a few of the vegan communities around the world. I'll read a couple of them off here. The UK Vegan Society, Vegetarian Resource Group, Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, and among others, recommend that vegans do eat fortified foods or take weekly or daily supplements of B12 to ensure that we're getting enough. Now, another option that comes up, and I've seen a couple of fellow YouTubers talk about it, is different algae and seaweeds being a source of B12. While some definitely are and can be a source of B12, it is important to do a little bit of research on each individual source because there are some studies, and of course they are just studies, so do your research. But there are some studies that suggest that certain seaweeds or algae that are being marketed and promoted as a source of B12 really contain more of like a pseudo vitamin B12, something that's very chemically similar or even identical in some cases, but isn't biologically active within humans. So it's important to understand that biochemistry and how it's actually going to work within your body. So again, I won't get into too many details about that one and giving examples and stuff, but if you're going with seaweeds or algae, just do a little bit of research on that to make sure that even though it's marketed as B12, that it actually is going to be the type that will be successful for you. So, a deficiency in B12. This is where we start to see how important it really is. And again, this is something that comes from bacteria in nature. So, this is very important to us because if you go with too low of B12 levels for too long, you could have issues with like damage to your brain. You could have central nervous system issues. Um, if it's prolonged and left untreated, they can be quite severe. Usually milder symptoms, and it's kind of when you should start to at least test. Well, you should probably test regularly anyway, but some milder symptoms could be fatigue, depression, poor memory, things like that. One of the key roles that B12 plays in our body is it metabolizes our cells, creates new red blood cells, and works in different ways. But it really helps us to metabolize and keep the body going, keep the body rejuvenated. So, of course, it would make sense we're feeling a little bit depressed or down or fatigued if we're not getting enough B12 in our system. As far as adverse effects go, it seems like, due to the research that I've been able to look at and what I've seen, of course, do your own, but it seems like there really are no adverse effects of B12 except in the rarest of conditions where somebody maybe has an allergy or something, although it's usually caused by something else. Um, its extremely low toxicity allows for huge doses without any adverse effects or side effects. So, as far as supplements go, supplementation of B12, there's a few different options available. One of the most common, if not the most common, supplement for B12 is cyanocobalamin. I don't know. I think that's how it's pronounced. Anyways, it is a processed version of B12. Goes through a kind of like a charcoal filtration system, and it picks up trace amounts of cyanide because cobalamin B12 is naturally attracted to cyanide, and that's why actually some of it has been used previously to treat cyanide poisoning. It can be used as an antidote. The naturally occurring stuff that's fermented right from the bacteria. But in any case, this cyanocobalamin, it's the most common one that you're going to see as um, fortifications in food or as supplements. And it's actually the one that I use. This brand here is iVita or iVita. I don't know. It's a Canadian brand. It's 500 micrograms of vitamin B12, and it's, yeah, cyanocobalamin. So it recommends to take one or two of these a day. I usually take one a day, and I feel like I'm getting enough, although I am going to get blood tested soon just to check all my levels after approximately 6 months of being vegan, just to make sure that I'm not lacking in anything. Another common one is hydroxocobalamin. Now, this is the one that actually occurs in nature within the bacteria itself, and it's the one that is used to create the cyanocobalamin. Usually, this one is supplied like in a water solution for injection, and it's usually, well, it seems to be used in, for larger doses or for immediate treatments of a deficiency, whereas the cyanocobalamin is more of like your preventative measure, daily intake recommendation kind of thing. Um, but it is important to kind of do your research on the supplier of your B12. There is a French company, and I'll read it off here. And I haven't spoken French in some time, so hopefully I get this correct. But it's Sanofi Aventis, I believe the company is called. And it has used genetically engineered versions of the bacteria in their industrial production of B12 before. I don't know if they still are. I wasn't able to find that out, but from what I could tell, that this French company did use it before. I don't know that bacterial genetic engineering is an issue. I'm not sure really what that entails, but for your own information, there are companies apparently that do genetically modify the different bacterias that they can use to cultivate the B12. So it is something to be aware of, just something to keep in mind um, it's certainly noteworthy, even if it isn't really a big deal. Just something to do your research on. And as far as the cyanocobalamin, which is the hydroxycobalamin that picks up the cyanide in nature, it has been proven to be a safe intake. The amount of cyanide that's actually released and ingested into the body when the tablet or pill or whatever starts to break down is approximately about 2%. So if you're taking a 1 milligram tablet, for example, um, yeah, you would only get 20 micrograms of cyanide, and that's far less than what's actually naturally occurring in a lot of foods that we eat. So um, I don't personally have any issues with taking these supplements that are the cyanocobalamin, or man, I can't even say this word properly, especially not when I say it like a million times. The cyano version of B12. I don't have any problems with taking that because I do feel like the levels of cyanide are so low um, that it's no different than getting it from some other natural source. So, really, the conclusion here, the whole point of this video was really just to maybe bring a little bit of information your way and get you thinking about supplementation, about B12, and really what it is and why it's important to us. It certainly is not exclusive to vegetarians or vegans as an issue of deficiency, but because we're not eating the animal products that contain the B12, because the animals eat plants that have B12 from their unwashed food and things, and the bacteria that they're exposed to, it does seem like we may be at a higher risk for deficiency. I'm not claiming that that is for sure, but definitely the last thing we want to do is give ammunition to people who are against veganism because they just don't know. So really, I think it's our responsibility to ourselves, obviously, and to the rest of the vegan community to make sure that we're healthy, make sure that we're doing what we need to do. We look up the things that we're unsure of, and regular blood tests, supplementation if we decide that that's for us, if that's necessary. Um, don't why risk being unhealthy, having a deficiency that could affect your central nervous system and your brain if it's something that you can easily take a vitamin for. If you don't feel like vitamins are or supplements are a route you want to take, then definitely get yourself tested regularly, your blood tests, and find other options. I mean, unwashed produce from bacteria in the soil can contain some B12. It isn't something that is necessarily as easy as taking a supplement. Um, and some of those algae options could potentially be, right up there as well. But again, this isn't really to promote or suggest. This is more so just to educate and hopefully inspire you to do your own research and make your own decisions. So be a happy vegan, be a healthy example, and yeah, that's it for B12. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Any comments, questions, by all means, leave them in the comments below there. Subscribe for more videos if you haven't already. And check out our vlog channel. Jamie and I on Our Conscious Life, we're doing Vlogmas. We'll be doing that up, well, right until about Christmas. We are going away on vacation. We're going to be spending some time with family, so probably not going to be doing a lot of filming while we're there, but and we may do something a little bit different with our channels in the meantime. But in any case, thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully this inspired you to at least look up a couple things. So, till next time, guys, bye.